A report reveals that about 2 in 10 employees who received phishing emails clicked on the links. That is almost double the global average. Now, the results are from a joint cybersecurity exercise by the Singapore Business Federation and the Defence Ministry. With local firms falling behind the rest of the world, the agencies want to boost their readiness for cyber attacks through training and more exercises. Let's take a closer look. More than 4,500 employees across 5 sectors took part in the exercise in February as part of Singapore's total defence activities, and they included firms from retail, healthcare and environment services. Most of them were small and medium enterprises. About 3 in 10 staff opened the phishing emails that were sent as part of the exercise, signalling that a significant number of employees in Singapore may be susceptible to real-world phishing attacks. Only about 5% of employees reported the phishing attempts, and that's only around a quarter of the global average. SBF and MINDEF are making an urgent call for more security awareness and reporting protocols among local firms.
For cyber attacks, actually, the last mile defense is always the sort of the weakest link, right? Because in the end, a human error, a click on the phishing link, that may then allow the threat actors to come in.
Among the different types of phishing emails sent, internal staff communications got the most clicks, with employees seeming less guarded about the authenticity of emails that claim to be from within the company. To tackle these growing concerns, the agencies will conduct training with local firms on best practices and follow-up exercises. They will also work with them on cybersecurity initiatives to improve readiness in the event of a breach.
We are working with a partner to put together a vulnerability scan for SMEs so that they can see where the vulnerabilities are. Working with a partner to put together something related to incident response. So essentially, we recognize that sometimes attacks do break through. Right? So when an attack actually does happen, how do you respond quickly so that you minimize the damage that is done?
For more, I'm joined by the CEO of the Singapore Business Federation, Ping Soon. Ping Soon, welcome to the program. It's good to see you tonight. So a very timely exercise carried out by the Singapore Business Federation, but it also involves MINDEF. What is the reason behind their involvement?
Well, I don't know whether you know, there are actually 6 pillars under total defense. And the 6th pillar was added in 2019, and that's digital defense.
Okay.
It's a signal that actually cyber threats, including disinformation, pose to Singapore society, and the importance to take cyber threats quite carefully. And you know, there's a saying for total defense, everybody has a part to play. So as the Apex Business Chamber, MINDEF approached us to say what we can do to help businesses be more aware in terms of total defense. And we thought that for digital defense, one way is to get the employees to be more alert on the threats of cyber attack by clicking through phishing emails. And we wanted to focus on SMEs because unlike big companies who have the resources to conduct some of these phishing attacks, SMEs sometimes doesn't have the resources to do that. So we decided to work with MINDEF under the Exercise SG to conduct this first national phishing exercise.
Let's take a look at the findings because they're showing that we are lagging behind global averages for cyber awareness. Why is that so? And any particular statistics that you are most concerned about?
I think 2 numbers worry me, 17% and 5%. 17% represent the number of employees that click through the phishing emails, not just open. I think when you reported open was 30%. Opening the email is still quite all right. It's the clicking through that I worry, and that's 17%.
Okay.
And that's much higher than the 9 to 10% global average. When you click through the email, it means a malicious software could come in through the email and then corrupt your system. The other number that I mentioned was 5%. 5% was the number of employees who actually bothered to report this to their internal IT department. And that's much lower than a global average of about 18%. So these are the 2 numbers that worry me most.
I think we mentioned this earlier, that among the phishing emails sent, internal staff communications, they got the most clicks.
Yes.
Are you surprised that employees seem less guarded with these emails specifically?
I'm not, because I think there's a certain level of awareness. If the email has some lucky draws or from some external providers, people are a bit more wary. But when it comes to internal emails, they thought this is cool. It's from their CEO, it's from their IT department, it's their HR department. And without checking through the link that the email address is actually not from company, they kind of click through. So it means that their guard is usually lower when they receive some of these internal emails.
We get these staff memos all the time, right? And we would want to click on them immediately because we're curious to know what's in these emails. Okay, so this is an exercise that involved more than 4,500 employees across 5 sectors, such as retail and healthcare, and most of them were SMEs. Why do you think SMEs are more vulnerable when it comes to cyber readiness? Are they not as informed as the bigger companies?
I think there's a multitude of reasons. I would cite 3. Number 1, lack of resources. SMEs by its own nature has a lack of budget, a lack of resources, and sometimes they don't even have a proper CIO in the company. So with that, they won't be able to put in place many of the cybersecurity measures. But number 2 is what you mentioned, the lack of awareness. Companies don't necessarily prioritize cyber training, for their employees. As I mentioned, many SMEs probably don't have the resources to conduct phishing campaigns like the one that we've conducted. And number 3 reason is outdated technology. Again, sometimes lack of resources result in some of these companies making use of technologies that are not updated or software patches that are not being updated.
So with the lack of resources, awareness, and outdated technology, how can SBF help to improve the cyber readiness for SMEs?
Well, so beyond this phishing exercise that we conducted with MINDEF, we are actually working with private and public sector organizations to put together a series of programs to improve their cyber readiness. For example, we are working with companies to allow these SMEs to be able to get a regular scan of their ports and their digital platforms to look for vulnerabilities in terms of threat actors or outdated software patches. Another little experiment or exercise that we are doing is to work with companies to get these SMEs to practice what happened when an incident happened, to do a tabletop exercise so they're more familiar with the drills and how to respond should an incident happen.
What's been the reception so far? Are businesses keen to raise their cyber readiness, or do they see this as another cost center?
Well, I think if the numbers from our National Business Survey is any indication, I think companies are aware, almost 80% of whether is it large companies or SMEs have cited cybersecurity as a challenge and a concern. The question now is to get them over the hump to actually do something about it. Yes, they are certainly worried about cost. They're also worried about the lack of capabilities. But the good news is that SBF is there to help these companies, and also the Cybersecurity Agency also have programs that actually help co-fund some of the SMEs costs related to cybersecurity.
Help us understand, Peng Soon. Paint for us a picture of what can happen in the event of a major cyber attack on a business entity here in Singapore. What are the ripple effects?
Well, imagine, if there's a cyber attack on any organization, first of all, there'll be disruption of the services provided. And we know how digitally connected, some of our products and services are. So there'll be immediate disruption of your services as a result of a cyber attack. Beyond the immediate disruption of services, there'll be financial implications for the company. Many of these cyber attacks are a result of ransomware. So you'll be hijacked, you have to pay a certain ransom to get the data decrypted. There will be data recovery costs. You've got to recover the data. There could be legal costs, because your consumers may sue you, and there may also be regulatory fines because of the breach in data security. Number 3, beyond the financial costs, I think the biggest concern is the erosion of trust. I mean, imagine the consumers are not going to trust you because they don't know whether you can protect the data. So those are very long-term damages that are even more serious than just a financial disruption or initial disruption to the business.
Very heavy and serious repercussions. Yeah, Peng Soon, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for coming in. Peng Soon there from SBF.